Somewhere beyond the front line, a single truck launches a storm of precision fire that can erase a command post in seconds. This is the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, a guided rocket launcher that has become one of the most feared symbols of modern warfare. In this video, we will break down how this system is built, where its power comes from, and how it has changed the way battles are fought. At its core, this weapon is a highly mobile rocket launcher mounted on a light six-wheeled truck designed to move fast and strike from unexpected positions.
The crew is usually just 3 soldiers, a driver, a launcher chief and a fire control operator, all protected inside an armored cab.
Inside, digital fire control computers connect to satellite navigation and communication networks, turning raw coordinates into precise firing solutions.
The launcher pod can rotate and change elevation in seconds, allowing the system to aim quickly without complex setup.
A single pod holds 6 guided rockets, each one capable of traveling dozens of kilometers and striking with meter-level accuracy. The vehicle can reload itself with a fresh pod using its own lifting mechanism, reducing dependence on separate heavy support equipment.
Seen as a whole, the system breaks down into a simple structure: an armored crew cab, a mobile truck chassis. The 6x6 chassis gives the launcher the speed and off-road agility of a light tactical truck rather than a heavy tracked vehicle.
It can cover hundreds of kilometers on roads and rough tracks, constantly shifting firing positions to avoid enemy detection.
The cab is more than a driver's seat. It is a compact command center that can plan, aim, and fire long-range precision strikes. Standard guided rocket uses a solid motor, a precision guidance package, and a focused warhead to deliver accurate fire over significant distances. With satellite-based navigation and inertial guidance, these rockets can land within just a few meters of their aim point, even over long distances. For deeper strikes, the launcher can fire larger tactical missiles that reach far into the enemy rear area to hit high-value targets.
This gives ground forces a way to reach airfields and command complexes without depending solely on manned aircraft.
Future missiles promise even longer range, pushing the influence of a single launcher far beyond traditional artillery limits.
Combine mobility, guided munitions and digital networks and you get a system that delivers deliberate, precise fire instead of blind barrages.
Now let us see how these design choices turn into real power on the battlefield. A precision strike begins with data, coordinates flowing from sensors and command networks rather than rough estimates. The fire control computer translates raw coordinates into a firing solution, adjusting for distance, elevation, and environmental conditions within seconds.
Digital tools help confirm what surrounds the target, reducing the risk of unintended damage before any rocket is launched.
Once a fire mission is confirmed, the crew moves into position, often staying for only a few minutes before they must shoot and move again.
Within moments, the launcher pod is raised and locked on the bearing, a simple motion hiding a complex chain of calculations. With a single command, several guided rockets are released, each already assigned a specific impact point.
The rocket blasts free in a violent flash, but once clear of the tube, its guidance systems steer it along a calculated path.
Powered by a solid motor and guided by precise navigation, the projectile follows a controlled trajectory rather than a random arc.
As the rocket nears the target area, its predicted impact point narrows to a tight circle only a few meters across. A single precise hit on an ammunition depot can disrupt entire artillery networks by destroying stockpiles and causing secondary explosions.
The moment the rockets are away, the crew does not wait. The launcher pod comes down, and the vehicle gets ready to leave.
This shoot-and-move tactic is essential, as counter-battery radars and drones will quickly search for the source of the fire.
Enemy counter-battery systems attempt to trace rocket paths in reverse, hoping to hit the launcher that fired them.
Minutes later, enemy artillery may finally strike the launch site, only to find that the vehicle left long before the first shell arrived.
By constantly shifting positions, the system forces the enemy to waste time and ammunition attacking empty ground.
Over time, a pattern emerges. Fire from one point, relocate, then fire again from another, rarely staying long in any spot. Older artillery can be powerful but requires larger crews and more time to move, making it easier to find and target. Tracked self-propelled guns bring armor and staying power, while the wheeled launcher trades some protection for speed and longer-range guided fire.
Compared to many older systems, guided rockets offer greater range and much tighter accuracy, turning each shot into a focused tool.
On the modern battlefield, the most fragile points are often far from the front line, where key supplies and command centers are located.
Orders can direct this system to strike a critical fuel site, the kind of target that keeps entire armored formations moving.
Overhead sensors confirm the exact shape of the site and feed updated coordinates back to the launcher.
Within seconds, multiple guided rockets rise, each assigned to a different point within the same fuel complex. By hitting several tanks at once, the strike does more than cause a fire. It directly cuts into the fuel that feeds frontline units. When that fuel node disappears, entire chains of resupply begin to fail, delaying operations and forcing commanders to rewrite plans. Another ideal target for long-range rockets is the command post, where information and orders converge.
A precisely calculated path carries the rocket directly toward the core of the enemy command network.
When a key command node is knocked out, radios fall silent, plans are delayed, and units up front can suddenly find themselves without guidance.
Destroying one vital hub forces the enemy to reroute communications and slows every decision at the worst possible moment.
Bridges over major rivers become choke points, essential for moving fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements.
Rather than leveling an entire area, planners can choose structural points that will disable the bridge with a limited number of shots.
A well-placed strike can damage a support or roadway segment enough to halt heavy vehicles without destroying every span. With the crossing broken, convoys must divert, delay, or cancel, buying precious time for friendly forces. Air defense systems protect headquarters, bridges, and depots, and neutralizing them is often a prerequisite for major operations. Multiple sensors, from imagery to electronic listening systems, cooperate to reveal the exact layout of the air defense battery. Guided rockets can selectively destroy the radar, command vehicles, and launchers that make the air defense system effective. Once the air defense umbrella is torn open, friendly aircraft and unmanned systems can operate more freely overhead.
This partnership between eyes in the sky and firepower on the ground is what turns the launcher into a fast-reacting networked weapon.
Beyond physical damage, the presence of long-range precision fire changes how commanders think, where they sleep, and where they choose to hide. Under the threat of precision rockets, command posts cannot stay put, forcing leaders into temporary, less efficient locations. To reduce vulnerability, stockpiles are broken into smaller sites, increasing the complexity and burden of logistics. For soldiers under fire, knowing that distant threats are being struck by their own long-range assets strongly boosts morale.
On the other side, commanders know that staying too long in any one place could invite a precision strike at any hour.
As headquarters move more often and communication grows more complex, the time from order to action quietly stretches.
When rockets can reach far into the rear, the idea of a truly safe area begins to fade. Even when rockets are not in the air, the possibility that they could arrive shapes how the enemy moves and hides. To limit the effect of any single strike, forces spread out, but that spread often means slower support and more vulnerable roads. Fewer, smarter shots that hit the right points can be more effective than saturating an area with unguided fire. In the end, the true effect of long-range precision systems is measured in altered plans, slowed advances, and shaken confidence.
Imagine an enemy armored brigade preparing for a major push, with tanks, infantry vehicles, and artillery massed in staging areas.
Before the attack begins, reconnaissance finds the assembly area and passes precise coordinates to long-range rocket units.
A launcher moves into position, aiming not at the front line, but at the massed forces waiting to advance. By striking the staging area before the advance, the attack can be delayed, disorganized, or even canceled. Units must now sort vehicles, treat wounded crews, and repair damage before they can think of moving forward. Meanwhile, defenders use the extra time to strengthen positions, shift units, and prepare a more effective defense. In offensive operations, the same system can sever retreat routes, trapping enemy units or forcing them into less favorable corridors.
For ground troops, this launcher acts as a long arm, striking strong points and reserves they could never reach on their own.
From deserts to forests and cities, the same basic design has been used in multiple theaters, always emphasizing mobility and precision.
This system is not just a truck with rockets. It is a sign of how artillery is evolving: faster, more connected, and more precise.
To understand the full impact of this system, we also need to see the human training and procedures that make every launch possible.
New crews spend hours learning every control, every safety rule, and every step of the firing sequence before they ever go to war.
Training, simulators let crews practice missions repeatedly, from receiving coordinates to launching rockets, without expending a single live round. Crews rehearse rapid occupation and evacuation of firing positions until every movement of the shoot and move cycle becomes automatic.
Reload drills teach crews to change pods quickly and safely, because time spent standing still after a mission is time spent exposed. Operating at night under strict light discipline is a core skill, because surprise and concealment are as important as range.
Before any real launch, a disciplined checklist culture reduces mistakes, because an error with guided rockets can have strategic consequences.
Mobility is more than speed. It also means planning routes that support the weight of the vehicle and keep it away from obvious ambush points.
Reliable communications link sensors, headquarters, and launchers into one chain, and training ensures that every message arrives clearly and on time.
Even guided rockets must account for weather and terrain, and operators learn how their computers factor those variables into every firing solution.
Behind each launcher stands a logistics system that stores, inspects, and delivers the right pods to the right unit at the right time.
Supplying guided rockets requires protected convoys and careful planning, because every pod is a valuable precision asset.
Keeping the vehicle in motion demands constant mechanical care, from tires and axles to engines that must start on demand.
The digital heart of the system needs specialized support, because every delay or glitch in the electronics can hold up an entire mission.
After every exercise and real operation, crews study what happened, adjusting tactics and procedures to sharpen their performance.
On the modern battlefield, guided rocket launchers do not replace other artillery. They work alongside guns and howitzers in a layered system. Unmanned aerial vehicles provide persistent eyes on the battlefield, feeding real-time target updates directly to the launcher.
Ground radars add another layer of sensing, spotting enemy guns and rocket launchers so that guided rockets can answer with precision fire.
In joint operations, long-range rockets become one of several tools, working in sync with aircraft and other missiles to shape the fight.
Because multiple allies operate this launcher, shared exercises teach crews how to fight together with compatible tactics and communication procedures.
On coastlines, guided rockets can threaten enemy logistics nodes, radar sites, and even ships operating close to shore. In mountains, mobility takes on a new meaning, as crews must choose routes that hide the vehicle without trapping it on dangerous slopes. In deserts, long sightlines and firm ground let rockets reach deep into enemy territory, but concealment becomes a constant challenge.
Near cities, the system must find concealed positions that allow it to fire without exposing itself to enemy sensors or endangering nearby civilians.
Forests can hide launchers effectively, but crews must balance cover with the need for clear arcs of fire and escape routes.
On islands, mobile launchers can turn small patches of land into far-reaching fire bases that shape movement across seas.
Combined with air power, long-range rockets can open the way, striking early to weaken defenses before aircraft arrive.
Sometimes these systems are used not for one dramatic blow, but for a series of shaping strikes that slowly erode the enemy's ability to fight.
Used defensively, guided rocket launchers can strike outwards, thinning enemy forces before they come within range of a city. In some operations, the mere presence of long-range firepower serves as a deterrent, backing up peacekeeping and stabilization efforts without firing a shot.
Like any weapon, this system has limitations, and understanding them is as important as knowing its strengths.
Severe weather can complicate operations, limiting visibility for sensors and making movement and coordination more difficult. Terrain obstacles such as damaged bridges and narrow passes can restrict where the system can safely travel and fire.
Because each guided rocket is expensive and limited, commanders must decide carefully where and when to use them.
Opponents may deploy decoys and fake signatures to confuse sensors and draw precious guided rockets away from real targets. As rocket systems improve, so do enemy countermeasures, from faster radars to longer-ranged guns that hunt for launchers.
Electronic warfare can attempt to disrupt communication links and navigation, forcing crews to rely on backup systems and procedures.
Because each shot is so precise, the quality of intelligence behind it must also be high, with multiple sources confirming what is being targeted.
If the data behind a strike is wrong, precision can magnify the impact of that error, which is why caution and verification are critical.
Long-range strikes often come under close political and public scrutiny, demanding clear explanations of their purpose and results.
Rules of engagement and legal oversight place boundaries on when and how this system can be employed, to keep its use aligned with national policy and law.
These constraints mean that discipline and training are not only tactical necessities, there are also moral responsibilities for the crews who operate this weapon.
High performance comes with a cost in maintenance hours and spare parts, which must be planned for just as carefully as rocket stocks. Long-range rockets sit between heavy cruise missiles and shorter-ranged artillery, offering a balance of cost, responsiveness, and precision. In practice, no single tool can do everything, which is why modern armies rely on layered firepower.
To bring all of this together, imagine one day in the life of a launcher crew as they move, prepare, and wait for their mission.
Every precision strike passes through many hands and steps, from the first detection of a target to the final assessment of its effects.
Kill chain, from sensor to shooter and back to sensor, must work quickly and accurately for the system to deliver its full value.
We have seen the internal anatomy of the launcher, the rockets it fires, and the electronics that guide every shot.
We have seen how those technical features translate into real effects on the battlefield, from disrupted logistics to stalled offensives.
We have seen how the mere possibility of long-range precision fire can unsettle plans and force opponents to disperse and adapt. Looking ahead, more nations are investing in similar technologies, seeing them as essential tools in future conflicts. Future designs may be smaller, more autonomous, and even more tightly integrated with sensors and unmanned platforms.
Yet no matter how advanced the hardware becomes, it is still operated by people who must live with the consequences of each shot.